Chapter 3, Consistency. Echoes of the Broken Crown. Chapter 3, Consistency. Arjun. The encounter in the library stayed with him longer than he expected. Not because it had been dramatic. Quite the opposite. Nothing remarkable had happened. A woman recovering from unimaginable trauma had experienced a panic attack. A second person had remained nearby until it passed. That was all. Yet the memory lingered. Perhaps because he recognized parts of it. Not the cause. The feeling. The helpless surge of fear that ignored logic. The way the body sometimes refused to believe the danger was over. His own experiences had been milder. Different. Years earlier. Still familiar enough. He spent the following morning reviewing reconstruction reports. The eastern supply route remained behind schedule. A bridge project required additional timber. 3 villages reported shortages of laborers due to poor harvests. Ordinary problems. Solvable problems. Arjun appreciated solvable problems. They did not wake people in the middle of the night. By the time he returned to the capital the next week, he had nearly convinced himself the library incident would never be mentioned again. He was wrong. The council meeting ended shortly before sunset. Officials gradually dispersed. Documents disappeared into leather cases. Maps were rolled away. Arjun gathered his notes. A familiar voice stopped him. Lord Vale. He turned. Princess Elara stood beside the table. Professional as always. Composed. No visible sign of the woman who had struggled to breathe in a dark library. I wish to thank you. The statement surprised him. For what? The other night. He considered dismissing it. Instead, he answered honestly. You don't owe me thanks. Perhaps not. A brief pause. But I wanted to offer it anyway. There wasn't much to say after that. So he inclined his head. She did the same. The conversation ended naturally. Neither tried to make it more significant than it was. As he left the chamber, Arjun found himself oddly relieved. The easiest way to damage trust was to demand recognition for basic decency. He had seen it happen before. People performed kindness and expected repayment. Support became obligation. Help became leverage. Nothing healthy survived that transformation. Fortunately, Elara seemed to understand the difference. The weeks passed. Winter settled across Valoria. Road conditions worsened. Construction slowed. Administrative work multiplied. Arjun discovered that rebuilding a kingdom involved astonishing amounts of paperwork. Not literally paperwork. Parchment work. The principle remained the same. Someone always needed approval. Someone always needed funding. Someone always believed their project deserved priority. His correspondence with the capital increased. At first it involved formal reports. Then questions. Then occasional discussions that stretched beyond immediate logistics. One evening, while reviewing transportation maps in a small conference room, Elara frowned at a report. The southern route appears stable. It is. Then why have merchant taxes declined? Arjun studied the numbers. A few moments later, he pointed toward a neighboring region. The route is stable. Yes. The market isn't. Understanding appeared almost immediately. They're bypassing the city. Exactly. For a brief moment her expression brightened. Not dramatically. Just enough to reveal satisfaction at solving a problem. The look vanished quickly. But Arjun noticed. He was beginning to notice many things. Elara trust was dangerous. The lesson had been reinforced repeatedly throughout her life. Trust created vulnerability. Vulnerability created opportunities for betrayal. The logic was simple. Difficult to argue with. Especially when experience supported it. Yet over the past several months, she found herself relying on Lord Vale's reports without verification. The realization arrived unexpectedly. And unsettled her. Not because he had done anything suspicious. Because he hadn't. He remained predictable. Consistently so. If he promised a report on Thursday, it arrived Thursday. If he believed a proposal would fail, he said so. If he disagreed, he explained why. No manipulation. No hidden requests. No attempts to gain favor. The reliability felt unfamiliar. One afternoon her chief advisor entered her office carrying several documents. He set them on the desk. Then hesitated. What is it? The older man cleared his throat. There's concern regarding marriage negotiations. Of course there was. There was always concern. Elara leaned back slightly. Which negotiation? All of them. She closed her eyes briefly. Several neighboring kingdoms had expressed interest. Some openly, others indirectly. The political logic was obvious. Valoria required stability. A marriage alliance offered advantages. Unfortunately, politics rarely cared about readiness. Tell them the matter remains under consideration. They won't be satisfied. No. They'll continue pushing. Yes. The advisor studied her. Concern lingered behind his professionalism. You don't have to decide immediately. The statement surprised her. Most advisors advocated the opposite. No, she said quietly. I don't. After he left, she stared at the window for a long time. Marriage, partnership, intimacy, trust. Each concept felt distant. Not impossible, just inaccessible. Like something that belonged to another version of herself. The war had taken many things. Not only people. Certainty, safety, the ability to relax, the assumption that tomorrow would resemble today. Sometimes she wondered whether those losses could truly be recovered, or merely managed. Her healer insisted recovery was possible. Gradual, incomplete, real. Elara wanted to believe her. Some days she did. Others proved more difficult. Arjun, 3 months after the library incident, Elara requested a private meeting. The invitation immediately triggered several political concerns. Fortunately, none materialized. She simply wanted advice. Specifically, advice about implementing reconstruction oversight programs. Arjun arrived with notes. She arrived with twice as many. For nearly 2 hours they discussed budgets, accountability systems, labor shortages, and regional planning. The conversation remained entirely professional. Yet by the end, something had changed. Not the relationship itself. The comfort level. They no longer needed formal pauses between every exchange. No longer measured each sentence quite so carefully. The distance remained, but it felt less rigid. As they organized documents, Elara suddenly asked, "Can I ask a personal question?" Arjun looked up. Possibly. A faint trace of amusement appeared. That's not very reassuring. It depends on the question. To his surprise, she almost smiled. The expression transformed her face. Not because it made her prettier. Because it made her look younger. Less burdened. The observation felt strangely intimate. He pushed it aside. "What is it?" he asked. Her fingers rested against the edge of a map. Thoughtful. The night in the library. His attention sharpened slightly. "You mentioned anxiety." "I did. How did you manage it?" The question carried careful neutrality. Yet something vulnerable existed underneath. Arjun considered his response. "My situation wasn't the same as yours." "I know." He nodded. "I went to therapy." The unfamiliar word earned a slight frown. "Healing sessions," he clarified. "Regularly." "And it helped." "Yes." The answer came without hesitation. "Not immediately." He looked toward the window, choosing his words carefully. "It didn't remove grief." Her gaze sharpened. "It didn't erase fear." A pause. "But it helped me understand what was happening." Another pause. "And understanding made it easier to live with." Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable. Thoughtful. Eventually Elara looked away. "My healer says something similar." "Then your healer is probably confident." That earned an actual smile. Brief. Genuine. Gone a second later. Still. It had been there. For reasons he couldn't entirely explain, seeing it felt important. Elara, that night she attended her scheduled session with Master Healer Corvin. An elderly man with patient eyes and endless tolerance. "How have you been sleeping?" "Poorly. Nightmares." "Occasionally." Corvin raised an eyebrow. "By your standards or mine?" She sighed. "Frequently." "There we are." The healer made a note. "Any recent panic episodes?" She hesitated. "One. Several months earlier she would have stopped there. Changed the subject. Deflected. Instead, she continued. "In the library." Corvin listened quietly. As she described the event, she found herself mentioning Lord Vale. His distance, his calmness, the grounding exercise, the absence of pressure. When she finished, Corvin seemed thoughtful. He sounds considerate. He is. The answer arrived surprisingly quickly. The healer noticed. Of course he noticed. Trustworthy. A dangerous question. Elara stared at the floor. Finally she answered. I think so. Corvin nodded. That must feel unusual. A short laugh escaped her before she could stop it. Very. The healer smiled. For the first time in weeks, she found herself smiling back. The moment was small, easy to miss. Yet healing often happened that way. Not through grand breakthroughs. Not through dramatic revelations. Through small moments repeated consistently. One conversation. One boundary respected. One difficult day survived. Then another. And another after that. Like rebuilding a road. Stone by stone. Slowly enough that progress became visible only when looking back. And though neither Arjun nor Elara realized it yet, that was exactly what they had begun doing. Not building romance. Not yet. Something more fundamental. A path toward trust. End of chapter 3.